A blonde TikTok star with 2.3 million followers sits confidently in Judge Caprio's courtroom, accused of murdering 19-year-old Emma Rodriguez. Blake Morrison thinks his fame makes him untouchable, even flashing his trademark smirk at cameras during his murder trial. But what Judge Caprio does next will remind everyone that real authority doesn't bow to social media status, and that arrogance has deadly consequences. This is Blake Morrison's story, showing what happens when digital fame meets old-school justice in a courtroom where character matters more than follower count. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're watching from, because we all need to see justice served when influencers think they're above the law. March 2024. Providence Municipal Court buzzes with an energy unlike anything seen before. News vans line the street outside while reporters jostle for position. Inside the historic courthouse, every seat fills with spectators, journalists, and curious onlookers drawn by the collision of social media, fame, and brutal murder. Judge Frank Caprio enters his courtroom for what will become the most watched case of his distinguished career. At 77, the beloved municipal judge has presided over thousands of cases, earning nationwide fame for his compassionate viral court videos. His gentle approach to struggling defendants has made him an internet sensation, but today presents a different challenge entirely. The atmosphere crackles with tension as cameras capture every moment. This courtroom, typically reserved for traffic violations and minor infractions, now hosts a first-degree murder trial that has captivated millions online. The irony is not lost on anyone present that Judge Caprio, famous for viral justice videos, now faces a defendant who built his empire on viral content. Blake Morrison stands accused in the death of Emma Rodriguez, a 19-year-old aspiring social media manager whose life ended violently on March 15th. Security footage from Blake's luxury apartment complex tells a chilling story. Emma arrived at 8:47 p.m., her face bright with excitement about collaborating with a major influencer. The cameras captured her entering the penthouse elevator, designer bag slung over her shoulder, phone in hand, as she likely posted about the exciting opportunity. She never left alive. The case file reveals the brutal reality behind the glamorous facade. Emma Rodriguez was found strangled with a phone charging cable in Blake's downtown Providence penthouse. What began as a content collaboration session ended in cold-blooded murder, with Blake attempting to stage the scene as suicide before posting a fabricated tribute video to his social media accounts. State versus Blake Morrison represents more than a murder trial. It embodies the clash between manufactured online personas and authentic moral authority. Blake Morrison enters the courtroom like he's walking onto a red carpet. At 22, his platinum blonde hair catches the overhead lights as he adjusts his designer Armani suit. Everything about his appearance screams calculated perfection, from his precisely styled hair to his expensive Italian leather shoes. He moves with the confident swagger of someone who has never faced real consequences. The young man sitting at the defense table built his empire on controversy and increasingly dangerous content. Blake Morrison dropped out of Yale University after his sophomore year, abandoning a prestigious education to chase viral fame full-time. His TikTok handle, Blake the Break, accumulated 2.3 million followers through a toxic combination of wealth-flaunting and reckless stunts that push legal and safety boundaries. His content evolution tells a disturbing story. Early videos featured typical rich kid lifestyle content, showcasing expensive cars, designer clothes, and lavish parties. But engagement demanded escalation. Blake began filming dangerous pranks, fake charity scams, and increasingly aggressive interactions with service workers and strangers. Each controversial post brought more followers, more brand deals, and more validation for his narcissistic worldview. Blake's physical demeanor in the courtroom reveals his fundamental disconnect from reality. He slouches in his chair with practiced casualness, occasionally glancing at the gallery as if calculating camera angles. His eyes dart constantly toward the media section, measuring their attention like metrics on a dashboard. When proceedings pause, he instinctively reaches for his phone before remembering where he is. Behind him sits his support system, a testament to privilege and wealth. Patricia Morrison, his socialite mother, occupies the front row, wearing a black Chanel suit and diamond jewelry worth more than most people's annual salaries. She built her identity around her son's fame, regularly appearing in his content and basking in reflected glory. The defense team led by Victoria Sterling represents legal firepower money can buy. Sterling commands $800 per hour and has built her reputation defending wealthy clients who believe rules apply to other people. Her presence signals the Morrison family's determination to purchase their way out of consequences, just as they always have. The first sign of trouble comes during arraignment. As Judge Caprio reads the charges, Blake Morrison pulls out his iPhone and begins scrolling through notifications. The quiet courtroom fills with the soft pinging of messages and alerts. Heads turn. Whispers ripple through the gallery. Judge Caprio stops mid-sentence. His weathered face hardens as he watches the defendant treat murder charges like background noise to his digital life. The judge who has shown mercy to countless struggling defendants faces something entirely different in Blake Morrison. "Mr. Morrison, this is a courtroom, not a content studio." Blake looks up with genuine confusion, as if surprised anyone would interrupt his phone time. He flashes his trademark smirk, the same expression that charmed millions of followers. The disconnect is jarring. He sits accused of murder while maintaining his influencer persona. "Sorry, Judge. My manager needs to know about rescheduling some brand partnerships. This whole thing is really messing with my content calendar." The gallery erupts in shocked murmurs. Emma Rodriguez's parents, sitting in the front row, visibly recoil at the casual reference to their daughter's murder as an inconvenience. Mrs. Rodriguez covers her mouth, fighting back tears at the defendant's callousness. Blake continues scrolling, completely oblivious to the mounting tension. He even holds up his phone to snap a quick selfie, apparently documenting his court appearance for social media. The audacity stuns everyone present. Judge Caprio's voice carries decades of authority when he speaks again. "Put the phone away immediately. Look, I get that you're older and don't really understand technology, but this is how business works now. I've got like 2 million people waiting for updates." The words hang in the air like a slap. Defense attorney Victoria Sterling's face goes pale as she realizes her client just insulted a respected judge in open court. She frantically whispers to Blake, trying to contain the damage, but he waves her off dismissively. Judge Caprio rises slowly from his bench. The motion silences the courtroom completely. In that moment, authentic authority confronts manufactured fame, and the outcome becomes inevitable. Judge Caprio's patience reaches its breaking point when Blake attempts to live stream the proceedings. The defendant holds his phone horizontally, whispering commentary to his followers about being in court for some misunderstanding. The judge's voice cuts through the courtroom like steel. "Bailiff, confiscate that device immediately." Blake's protests echo off the courthouse walls. "You can't take my phone. That's my livelihood. Do you know how much money I make per post?" His entitlement reaches new heights as he argues with court officers, treating them like obstacles to his content creation rather than representatives of the law. The confiscated phone becomes a symbol of Blake's lost control. For the first time in years, he sits disconnected from his digital empire, unable to craft his narrative or manipulate public perception. His leg bounces nervously as withdrawal from constant validation sets in. Prosecutor Sarah Chen begins presenting evidence that systematically destroys Blake's carefully constructed image. Digital forensics revealed deleted text messages showing Blake's obsession with Emma Rodriguez. The messages start friendly, then turn demanding when Emma rejects his romantic advances. The final exchanges reveal Blake's rage when Emma threatened to expose his fake charity scam. "She was going to ruin everything I built," Blake mutters, apparently forgetting he's in open court. His Google search history paints a chilling picture of premeditation. Searches for how to stage suicide and undetectable strangulation methods appear on Blake's laptop days before Emma's murder. Each piece of evidence chips away at his influencer facade, revealing the calculated killer beneath. Blake repeatedly interrupts proceedings, correcting what he calls misrepresentations of his brand. He seems more concerned with protecting his image than defending against murder charges. When Chen shows security footage contradicting his alibi, Blake shouts about edited videos and fake news. Judge Caprio's warnings grow stern. His famous compassion hardens into steely determination as Blake shows zero remorse for Emma's death. The defendant continues referencing his follower count and brand partnerships even during testimony about a young woman's brutal murder. The courtroom watches in stunned silence as Blake Morrison reveals himself to be exactly what the evidence suggests: a narcissistic killer who views everything, including murder, through the lens of personal benefit. The courtroom holds its breath as Prosecutor Chen reveals the most damning evidence yet. Blake Morrison's phone contains a pre-written social media post about Emma Rodriguez's tragic suicide. The timestamp shows he composed the tribute video script 2 hours before Emma even arrived at his apartment. Blake's carefully constructed world begins crumbling in real time. His face flushes red as Chen reads the fake tribute aloud. The post describes Emma as struggling with depression and reaching out for help that never came. Every word drips with manufactured grief designed to deflect suspicion from her killer. "That's taken out of context," Blake shouts, jumping to his feet. "You don't understand how content creation works." Judge Caprio's gavel slams down. "Mr. Morrison, sit down and remain silent." But Blake Morrison cannot stop performing. Years of viral fame have rewired his brain to view every moment as content opportunity. Even facing murder charges, he continues calculating angles and managing his image. The disconnect between reality and his digital persona reaches its breaking point. "This is all fake news. You're just jealous haters trying to destroy someone successful." His voice echoes through the courthouse as security officers move closer. "Do you know who I am? I have millions of followers. I make more money than any of you." The outburst horrifies everyone present. Emma Rodriguez's mother sits in stunned silence. Watching her daughter's killer worry more about his reputation than taking responsibility for murder. The raw display of narcissism chills the courtroom to its core. Judge Caprio rises slowly from his bench. His 77 years of life experience show in every measured movement. When he speaks, his voice carries the weight of true authority meeting manufactured fame. "Sit down, Mr. Morrison. Your performance ends now." Blake's legs shake as the reality of his situation finally penetrates his ego. For the first time, his trademark smirk disappears. The cameras he craves so desperately now capture his complete breakdown as millions of followers witness their idols fall from grace. The golden boy of social media stands exposed as nothing more than a cold-blooded killer desperate for attention. The digital forensics team's reconstruction reveals the truth Blake Morrison desperately tried to hide. Emma Rodriguez discovered his elaborate charity scam just hours before her death. Bank records show Blake diverted donations meant for homeless shelters into his personal accounts, funding his lavish lifestyle while claiming charitable giving for tax benefits and social media clout. Emma's final text messages paint a picture of moral courage that cost her everything. She confronted Blake about the fraudulent charity, threatening to expose the scheme that bilked thousands of donors out of nearly $500,000. Her last message reads simply, "People trusted you. I trusted you. This ends tomorrow." Blake's response was swift and brutal. Phone records show he immediately began researching methods to silence Emma permanently. His browser history reveals searches for "How long does strangulation take?" and staging accidental death scenes conducted from his penthouse while Emma traveled to meet him. The murder weapon tells its own horrifying story. Blake used his own iPhone charging cable to strangle Emma Rodriguez, a twisted irony that his instrument of fame became his tool for murder. Forensic analysis found Emma's DNA on the cable, and Blake's fingerprints positioned exactly as they would be during strangulation. Blake's attempt to stage Emma's death as suicide unravels under expert testimony. The medical examiner explains how ligature marks prove manual strangulation rather than hanging. Emma's body position was physically impossible for self-inflicted death. Every detail of Blake's crime scene staging reveals his amateur understanding of forensics gleaned from true crime content he consumed online. The timeline reconstruction destroys Blake's alibi completely. Security footage shows Emma entering his building alive at 8:47 p.m. Blake's own social media activity stops abruptly at 9:23 p.m. when he began staging the murder scene. His phone remained inactive for exactly 47 minutes, the window during which Emma Rodriguez died and Blake Morrison transformed from influencer to killer. Phone data reveals Blake's coldest calculation. While Emma's body lay in his apartment, he researched how long to wait before calling police to avoid suspicion. He spent those crucial minutes perfecting his false narrative, rather than attempting to save the woman he murdered. The jury deliberates for 4 agonizing hours while the courtroom remains packed with spectators, media, and Emma Rodriguez's grieving family. Blake Morrison sits rigid at the defense table, his usual cockiness replaced by visible anxiety. For the first time since his arrest, he appears to grasp the gravity of his situation. When the jury returns, their faces reveal nothing. The foreman stands holding the verdict that will determine Blake's fate. Judge Caprio calls for order as whispers ripple through the gallery. Emma's parents clutch each other's hands, bracing for the moment they have waited months to hear. On the charge of murder in the first degree, we find the defendant guilty. Blake's face drains of all color. His mother's scream pierces the courtroom as Patricia Morrison collapses into her seat. The golden boy of social media finally understands that fame cannot purchase innocence or buy freedom from consequences. On the charge of evidence tampering, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of filing false police reports, we find the defendant guilty. Guilty on all counts. The words echo through the courthouse as Blake Morrison's world crumbles completely. Defense attorney Victoria Sterling places a steadying hand on her client's shoulder, but Blake stares straight ahead in shock, unable to process his fall from digital royalty to convicted murderer. Judge Caprio calls for sentencing, and the courtroom falls silent. The beloved judge who built his reputation on compassion now faces his most solemn duty. His voice carries the weight of true justice as he addresses the killer directly. Mr. Morrison, you came into my courtroom believing your online fame entitled you to special treatment. You thought your followers were your jury. You were wrong. The pause feels eternal. Emma's family watches as justice finally arrives. Emma Rodriguez will never create another video, never laugh with friends, never chase her dreams. Her life had value that your algorithms cannot calculate. Judge Caprio delivers the sentence that ends Blake Morrison's freedom forever. Life in prison with the possibility of parole after 25 years. The gavel falls like thunder, sealing the fate of the influencer who thought fame made him untouchable. The courtroom footage explodes across every social media platform within hours of Blake Morrison's sentencing. Judge Caprio's powerful words reach over 50 million viewers in the first 24 hours, making it the most-watched court proceeding in internet history. The irony cuts deep. Blake's final viral moment showcases his complete destruction rather than his manufactured success. Social media platforms respond with unprecedented speed. TikTok permanently bans Blake the Break within 6 hours of the verdict, removing all content and refunding advertisers. Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter follow suit, erasing Blake Morrison's digital empire completely. His 2.3 million followers vanish into the void, leaving behind only news articles about his crimes. The public reaction is swift and merciless. Former fans flood comment sections expressing disgust at supporting a murderer. Brand partnerships evaporate overnight as companies distance themselves from the toxic association. The influencer economy faces its biggest reckoning as followers question who they choose to elevate and monetize. Emma Rodriguez's family channels their grief into meaningful action. The Emma Rodriguez Foundation launches to support aspiring content creators while promoting digital responsibility and authentic storytelling. Her legacy becomes one of truth and integrity. Everything Blake Morrison's career was not. Judge Caprio emerges as an unlikely hero for the digital age. His refusal to be intimidated by social media fame resonates with millions who feel exhausted by influencer culture's excesses. Letters pour into his courthouse from around the world, thanking him for proving that character still matters more than clicks. Blake Morrison enters the Massachusetts Correctional Institution without fanfare or cameras. Prison strips away every element of his former identity. No phones, no followers, no brand deals. Just consequences stretching across the next quarter century of his life. The case establishes legal precedent for holding influencers accountable for their actions. Law schools study Blake Morrison's trial as an example of how traditional justice systems adapt to digital age criminals who believe fame grants immunity. Judge Caprio's wisdom echoes far beyond his Providence courtroom. Real authority comes from service and character, not likes and shares. In a world obsessed with viral fame, One elderly judge reminded millions that authentic respect must be earned through integrity, not purchased through algorithms.